Thank you for watching. This is my Vaterra Ascender. You have seen me unbox this thing at the Team K&K event in early June. I also entered in a class 2 and I did extremely well. This is the stock body, which is I believe a 1970s Ford Bronco. Nothing wrong with it. I actually really like the way it looks, and this is one of those really familiar classic paint schemes with like the turquoise and the white. However, I wanted to look a tiny bit different, as always. Not sure if you are familiar with Icon. Icon is like a customizing company, and what they do is they make resto mods. They completely pick these four Broncos apart, replace everything with like newer, upgraded suspension parts, different axles, different engines, you name it. So you end up with a very capable off-roader that in addition looks sick, because it keeps everything sort of like inspired the way it is, so it doesn't completely rape the look of this classic Bronco, but what it does do is modernize it a bit. So what they do, for example, is flat colored paint. You get this really cool grille section, and it's also some stuff that I want to replicate in this clear body. This is the exact same body, apart from it lacking paint. I did, however, make it fit already, and perhaps you can see that something different is going on in the back. What I decided to do is I took an axial SCX10 Honcho cage. I had an additional one laying around, and I just wanted to see if I could fit that thing in the back over here, just to give it a tiny bit more of a pre-runner look. There's not a whole lot going on in the back otherwise with this Vaterra Ascender, which does give it a whole lot of clearance, but I just want something additional to look at. Someone made a tiny template just with a piece of paper before actually cutting it out from the body, because I mean I only got one clear shell and I don't want to ruin it. So just to be safe, measured it up, put some lines on there, hacked it out. These are actually the pieces that I needed to remove. Not a whole lot to it, but I do think that it will set it apart from all the other Vaterra Ascender Ford Broncos out there. Now, paint-wise, what I have planned is I want to do a flat black roof, perhaps with some shiny racing stripes. Maybe a racing stripe that goes over the hood. You see there's like a bit of a race section going on over here. So I want that racing stripe to sort of continue over there. Then the rest of the body, I want to make that, I think, copper colored, something like that. Perhaps put a Bronco logo on the side, put some lettering above that too. Perhaps put Vaterra Bronco on it, something like that. Maybe even slap a HemiStorm logo on there, not sure yet. And in the back over here I want to paint up the taillights and make sure it all looks good. Then I do have an additional grill piece. So this is actually, when you buy one of these bodies, I was quite surprised by this, you get a whole grill section as well with light buckets and everything. So what I want to do to the grill that I don't have laying on the table over here, I want to give that a coat of primer. Make sure that I can paint some black on there, because especially around those headlights I want to paint that with some black, and perhaps all of the gapped areas paint those black as well. We will see. It's been a while since I painted, so I'm really looking forward to getting this done. The weather absolutely sucks here, so I cannot continue on my workshop at the moment, but not a big deal, more than enough to do. This one I gotta paint up my Traxxas TRX4, and I got a whole lot of other projects planned for the months ahead. So the rain can come, it can pellet me, but it will not discourage me from making some content. So we're a day later, everything is cut. I skipped the whole cutting part because it's always super boring. Top tip, print your logos out horizontally, flip them, stick them to the outside and trace them on the inside with a blade. It's really as simple as that. I never use a plotter. I hate plotters and I like the charm of the imperfect cuts. So what I did, there's a lot of people who already did Broncos and I don't want to be a copycat or have something that looks exactly the same as everybody else's. So I'm going for that icon look. Most eye-catching part of that whole thing is going to be black grille instead of chrome. And these headlights, these are actually Harley Davidson Daymaker headlights. That's what they use in those icon fronts. I think they'll look really cool. You will see how that turns out once I've painted it. Made some Bronco logos on the side, a Vaterra logo on the hood, and then on the roof you can tell that I made a T-top. So I want something that gives me a tiny bit of extra view to the interior. Once that's in there, that's not going to be this video, but most likely next video. And apart from that, I kept it pretty simple. There is a lot of detail going on. That's also why this took me a day to cut out. But as always, you know, you just need to take your time. If you get a bit sick and tired of the cut work, or you start losing your patience, go do something else, because there's really no pressure. So that's also what I do. I drink a coffee, play with my cats, go for a tiny walk in my garden, or just go do something else for a minute, and then when I get back to it, I'm motivated again and patient enough to actually make my cuts. In the back over here you can see that axial honcho cage. I did cut up that insert that they have, just so I can lay those spares flat. This will also get a coat of paint, so it's a tiny bit less eye-catching than it is right now, because I just wanted to blend in with the rest of the bodywork. For now, I'm going to sling some paint. I'm going to start off with a sky blue anodized aluminum. I'm going to back that one with a light blue. After that, I'm going to do the black. It was just easier to mask it like that. First two colors are on. I started out with a sky blue anodized aluminum instead of a champagne anodized aluminum. I know a lot of people think that I use that in every paint job. In this case, I'm not. So I started out with that one, then I backed up with a light blue. Now this is eventually going to get a lot darker. Reason that I'm sort of like cutting into the paint job and showing you this is the following. Let me turn my lamp on. You can see there is almost no paint coverage. This is where a lot of people go like, okay, I'm gonna empty like 5 cans of paint just because I want it to be completely non-transparent. Don't worry about that. If you do that, you will get a lot of paint runs and dripping and running, and it will just look really ugly, and you end up maybe even tossing the shell. So if you have just like a mild dusting of paint, to put it like that, that's more than enough. You don't have to worry about it. There's like 5 more colors coming, so there will be plenty of paint on this body once it's done. My next color is going to be black, so all this blue that you see right now is going to darken up a tiny bit. So I'm going to peel a lot of masking right now, make sure that everything is uncovered. Double check everything, because that's also really important. If you think that you have unmasked what you need to unmask, just backtrack your steps, have another look just to make sure that you actually did that, because there's nothing more annoying than needing to go into your paint scheme afterwards and touch up one color that you perhaps have forgotten. Okay, well, on to that. And we're also over 3 colors in. So you've seen me do this, all of the blue, sky anodized aluminum back with a light blue. Then I moved on to the black, added some gunmetal in these Bronco logos over the sides. Now, black was a huge step. The majority of the roof is black, all of the window trims are black, and I got this hood scoop that I also painted up. That's also all black. These window trims, that's I think one of the best tips that I can give you. You will wonder, but what will I do with all these cool stickers? You walk to your trash can, you just throw them away because you really don't need any of them. Tail lights, window trims, whatever it is that you see on this sheet, you really don't need it because you can paint it. And if you can paint it, you should paint it, I think. Those big surface stickers like windows, for example, they're really prone to you fucking it up with air bubbles and all that stuff. And also the minute you get it out in the mud and in the dirt, once it starts peeling a tiny bit, it gets so super ugly. So just take those extra 10 minutes per window to cut all of your trims. So right now I'm moving on to the outer trim. So I got like that rubberized bead going on everywhere, and right now it's time to put in some silver. So I'm going to use a silver anodized aluminum backed up with some more black. That way I also get some nice coverage with that black, and then move on to the rest of the logos on the doors, on the hood, and also on the roof. Well, and that last step just concludes this pre-runner Bronco, Baja Bronco, whatever you want to call it. I'm really keen to get this car out on the trails. It does need some additional, you hear my cat clawing some shit in the background here. It does require a few additional pieces to completely button it up. Waiting for one of those Proline Classic interiors. I know they're not intended for a Ford Bronco. Really doesn't matter, it will fit in there really nicely. I still have some work to do to that Honcho cage before that all looks good. I'm going to change out the servo in this truck, so I'm going to go for a high-tech 7954. That's a servo that I actually run in a lot of my trucks. It's not waterproof, but it has a whole lot of torque and it's really good value for money. The ESC motor will also get changed out. I'm going to put a Mamba X in here. And a Castle Slate series motors. I'm thinking a 2280, but I'm not quite sure yet. So all that is yet to come. And in case you wonder what wheels these are Yeah Racing rims, which I got at RC Mart, and Pitbull Rock Beast tires. I love these tires, by the way. I've got quite a few miles on them already. Now, yeah, well, that's it. What else can I tell you? Not really a whole lot. Other than take your time with painting, take your time especially with the last step, peeling off the clear film. Make sure that whatever it is that you do want to perhaps accentuate with, like a flat clear or perhaps a black if you don't have access to a flat clear, cut that, because companies do a great job in actually providing you with a clear overspray film that you can cut and do some customizing with. I'm really happy with the way that this truck turned out. I do think that it has that icon look. So it looks a fair bit different than the original, especially in the front. Now the grille was really simple. Just painted that one up with some Tamiya TS black plastic paint. I didn't even primer it. I may regret that in the future, but we will see about that. I wanted it to have those icon headlights, so those Harley Davidson Daymaker headlights that you always see in those icon resto mods, those icon trucks. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. I do think that that's a real eye catcher, and it's always incredible what you can do with just a few simple coats of paint. So that's also what I did over here. This is also the very first time that I actually tried some of those body lines. Just cut some 0.5 millimeter wide tape, stuck it on there, and it actually worked quite well, I think. Also, don't be afraid to experiment with some colors. So use the cutoffs that you have from your body and just throw a couple of colors together, see how that turns out, and if it turns out the way that you want it to. So in this case as well, that blue anodized aluminum backed with a light blue gives you an incredibly different tint of blue than anything else that you can get right out of a can. So saving your cutoffs and going to town with them always pays off. These wipers, they come from my Galenda 2. So these are actually RC fold drive parts, and apart from that there's not a lot going on yet. Again, waiting to button it up with that interior, some different electronics, and then it's good to go. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to press that like button. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments box. It can take a while, but I will get back to you eventually. I do have a lot of videos coming up. A few coming up right now this week from my trip to Puerto Rico back in March. It was a crazy cool adventure, by the way. Met a lot of nice people. Just hadn't had the time to edit them yet, so those will be posted this week. I also have some Proline by the Fire videos coming out. I still need to paint up a lot of trucks, and I also have a few unboxings coming, but I wanted to paint this one up first. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It's free. It will always be free. No PayPal, no Patreon, no bullshit like that at all over here. Take care. Bye-bye.
We're back on.